12:47 a.m. Friday, late fall. I'm Felicity Vance, 38, single mom and a child advocate attorney. An emergency hearing yanked me away, forcing me to leave my son overnight with my parents and my brother for the first time. One night, it had to be secure. My phone erupted. My boy's voice sliced through. "Mom, Uncle shoved me after I overheard him begging you for $3,800. Debt?" I slammed into broken glass. "Cuts burning." He told the cops I attacked him first, they're convinced. Files crashed. Keys snatched. I exploded out. Before I unleashed, the moment the cops, world flipped, blast your country and age in the comments. Commit now. 18 minutes of pedal to the metal, veins on fire. An echo rings, my brother's frantic plea. "Fell! I'm drowning, if they restrain my son." I blasted into a Toria General's zone, engine snarling. The officer's reaction when I locked eyes. Instant regret. The automatic doors whooshed open. I barreled through, heels skidding on polished linoleum, briefcase banging against my hip like a pendulum. The triage desk blurred past. A nurse pointed left. Bay 4. Curtain half drawn. Tucker lay propped on a narrow gurney, a hospital gown dwarfing his frame. A thick plastic zip tie cinched his left wrist to the rail, skin mottled red beneath it. His right cheek ballooned purple, edged with the imprint of knuckles. Jagged glass cuts striped his forearms, 78, maybe more, oozing crimson that soaked the gauze already. Colt lounged against the wall 3 feet away, arms folded, a single thin scratch on his index finger barely breaking skin. He met my eyes with lazy defiance. Officer Brooks stood at the foot of the bed, notepad open. Recognition hit him like a slap. Color drained from his face. "You're the attorney who got that restraining order last year." His voice cracked on the last word. Sergeant Vargas, tall, buzz cut, badge gleaming, stepped forward without hesitation. Trauma shears flashed. The zip tie snapped free with a sharp snip. Tucker's arm flopped limp, circulation pins and needles visible in the twitch of his fingers. I dropped to my knees beside the gurney, briefcase thudding to the floor. My hands, steady in courtrooms, shaking now, hovered over the wounds. "Who authorized restraints on a child victim?" I demanded, eyes locked on the deepest laceration, a 4-inch gash curving from elbow to wrist. "This is protocol breach, gross misconduct and potential civil liability." Vargas holstered the shears. Dispatch logged the uncle as the complainant. Kid was combative. He nodded toward Colt. "We're correcting that now." Tucker's voice came out small, raspy. "It hurts, Mom." "I know, baby." I cupped his uninjured cheek, thumb brushing the edge of the bruise. "We're fixing everything." A nurse, name tag R. Patel, appeared with a tray, saline, sutures, tetanus vial. She hesitated at the zip tie remnants. "Policy says remove only on officer order." "Order given," Vargas said. I lifted Tucker's arm, gently angling it toward the overhead light. Glass shards glittered in the wounds like cruel confetti. "These need irrigation and x-rays for retained fragments. Schedule stat." Nurse Patel nodded, scribbling. Colt pushed off the wall. "He lunged at me first. Look at my hand." He thrust the scratch forward like evidence. I didn't glance up. A paper cut versus arterial bleeding. Compelling. Officer Brooks closed his notepad, cheeks still ashen. "Ma'am," I responded to the 911. The caller. "Your brother said the boy attacked him with a bottle, and you zip-tied the bleeding child based on that." My tone could have frozen saline. Vargas interjected. "Body cams were rolling. We'll review." Tucker winced as the nurse flushed the first cut. "Uncle Colt pushed me into the recycling bins. The bottles broke when I fell." Colt snorted. "Kid's dramatic." I stood, positioning myself between them. "Dramatic children don't require 23 stitches." The curtain rustled. A tech wheeled in a portable x-ray. "Arm, please." I helped Tucker extend the limb, cradling his elbow. The machine hummed, clicked. Images loaded on a nearby monitor. White flecks embedded in soft tissue. 3 fragments, the tech announced. "Or consult." Vargas radioed it in. Brooks reopened his notepad, pen hovering uncertainly. I leaned close to Tucker. Scale of 1 to 10? 8, he whispered. Morphine order went up. Nurse Patel pushed the syringe. Tucker's eyelids fluttered. Colt shifted, scratching at the tiny cut. This is ridiculous. I am the victim here. Victims don't stand untouched while children bleed out, I said. Security arrived, 2 officers in hospital blues. Vargas briefed them quietly. One nodded toward Colt. Sir, step outside for a statement, Colt bristled. I'm not going anywhere. You are, Vargas replied. Now. The officers flanked him. Colt shot me a venomous look, but allowed himself to be led through the curtain. His footsteps echoed down the corridor. Tucker's breathing slowed under the medication. I traced the zip tie mark, already bruising into a perfect circle. Sergeant, I want the restraint log, officer notes, and body cam serial numbers. Compiling, Vargas said. Nurse Patel returned with warm blankets, draping them over Tucker. Surgery in 30. Family lounge. I stay with him. She didn't argue. Brooks lingered. Ms. Vance, The initial call sounded credible. I'm sorry. Apologies don't remove scars. I softened a fraction. Fix the report accurately. He nodded, scribbling anew. The X-ray tech printed films, sliding them into a folder labeled urgent. I initialed the chain of custody. Tucker murmured, half asleep. Don't leave. Never. I pulled the stool closer. Our fingers intertwined. Outside the bay, radios crackled with updates. Colt's voice carried faintly, protesting, indignant. The sound faded as they moved him farther away. A child life specialist arrived with crayons and a stuffed bear. Tucker managed a sleepy smile. I tucked the bear under his good arm. Vargas ducked back in. Restraint removed from log. Official apology en route from shift commander. Thank you, he hesitated. Your brother's asking for you. Let him ask. The specialist began a quiet story about a brave turtle. Tucker's eyes closed fully. I monitored the monitor's heart rate. Steady. Oxygen 98. Nurse Patel returned. OR is ready. An orderly wheeled the gurney. I walked alongside, hand never leaving Tucker's. The zip tie lay discarded on the floor, a white plastic loop in a puddle of dried blood. Evidence. As we passed the nurse's station, Brooks intercepted. Corrected report filed. Child as victim, uncle as suspect. I nodded once. The double doors to surgery loomed. I kissed Tucker's forehead. See you on the other side, champ. He was out before they pushed through. I stood alone in the hallway, briefcase forgotten somewhere in Bay 4. The protocol breach would be the least of their worries. Sergeant Vargas motioned me closer. He unlocked a rugged tablet, volume low but sharp. The 911 dispatcher's calm voice filled the curtained bay. Atoria PD, what's your emergency? Tucker's frantic reply crackled through. Don't push me. I heard the $3,800 call. A grunt, a scuffle, then glass exploding like gunfire. The timestamp froze at 12:31. 4 a.m. Vargas swiped. Next file, raw backyard security footage. Grainy infrared. Colt's silhouette loomed center frame, right arm cocked high with a long neck bottle glinting. Tucker's smaller shape retreated, step by step, across the patio stones. Colt advanced, bottle swinging in a wide arc. Tucker's heel caught the garden edging. He pinwheeled backward into the shattered recycling bin. The feed cut at 12:31, 27 a.m. exactly. Vargas tapped another icon. A scanned court document loaded. Multnomah County Superior Court Case, 19D04712. Petitioner Marisol Reyes, Colt's ex-fiancée. Order respondent Colt Vance to maintain 100-yard distance, no contact, surrender firearms. Issued 18 months prior, still active. I felt the room tilt. Every laceration on Tucker's arm now carried a price tag. I turned to Colt, who leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, smirk faltering. You begged me for $3,800 last week, I said, voice low enough that only he heard the venom. I refused. So you cornered an 11-year-old in the dark and used a bottle as leverage. Colt's jaw worked soundlessly. Officer Brooks shifted weight, eyes flicking between us. Vargas pocketed the tablet and produced cuffs, real ones this time. Steel glinting under the fluorescence. Colt Vance, you're under arrest for assault on a minor, violation of a protection order, and child endangerment. The first bracelet clicked around his left wrist. Colt tried to jerk away. Vargas twisted the arm higher until he yelped. Second cuff locked. Tucker watched from the gurney, IV lines swaying. "That's the bottle," he murmured, pointing at the screen's freeze frame still glowing on the tablet. "He smashed it right after I said I'd tell you." I crouched beside him. "You did tell me. That's why this ends tonight." Vargas recited the Miranda litany while guiding Colt toward the corridor. Colt twisted for a final glare. "You're ruining family over a kid's imagination, Felicity. Family doesn't weaponize debt against children." I shot back. Brooks intercepted, blocking Colt's path. "Sir, face forward." He glanced at me, apology in his eyes, and helped steer the prisoner out. The curtain fluttered shut behind them. A forensic tech arrived, sealing the tablet in an evidence bag. "Chain of custody starts now," she said, labeling it ER Incident 1104. I exhaled for the first time in minutes. Tucker's fingers found mine, cold but steady. "Will Grandma and Grandpa be mad?" "They'll have to be mad at the truth," I answered. The ER hummed around us, beeps, wheels, distant codes. A nurse adjusted Tucker's drip. Another brought warm blankets. I memorized every frame Vargas had shown, burning the timestamps into muscle memory. 12/31, 3,800, 18 months. Numbers that would bury my brother. Outside the bay, radios crackled with Colt's transport details. I caught fragments. "Holding cell, psyche val, DA notified." Each word tightened the knot in my chest, but it was a knot of resolve, not fear. Tucker's eyelids drooped. "Mom, when can we go home?" "Soon as the doctor clears you." I brushed a curl from his forehead. "Then we start fresh, just us." He managed a tiny smile, the first since the phone call. The tablet was gone, but the images lingered. Colt's raised arm. Tucker's fall. The bottle's deadly arc. Evidence sealed. Irreversible. A social worker poked her head in, clipboard in hand. "Ready." "Ms. Vance, we need to document the prior order violation for CPS cross-report." I nodded. "Give me 5 minutes with my son." She retreated. I leaned close to Tucker. "You were brave on that call. Braver than most adults." "I was scared," he admitted. "Scared and brave aren't opposites." The clock above the door ticked past 1:15 a.m. Somewhere down the hall, Colt sat cuffed to a bench, waiting for booking photos. Here, Tucker's breathing evened into sleep. I held the space between them. Mother attorney firewall. Vargas returned alone, hat tucked under his arm. "Preliminary charges filed. Judge will sign the warrant by 06:00. "Thank you, Sergeant." He hesitated. "Your brother, he asked for a phone call. Wants your parents." "Let him wait." Vargas gave a curt nod and left. The corridor swallowed his footsteps. I pulled the blanket higher over Tucker's shoulders, careful of the bandaged cuts. The backyard cam timestamp glowed in my mind. 12:31. Proof in pixels. A janitor mopped the floor outside, bleach cutting through the blood and antiseptic haze. Each swipe erased the night's violence, but not the record, not the audio, not the order Colt had shredded the moment he raised that bottle. I opened my phone, drafted an email to the DA's night desk, requested an emergency hearing, attached the 911 transcript video exhibit, and ARO 19D04712, and sent it. Tucker stirred. "Mom, still here?" "Good." He slipped back under. The ER settled into its pre-dawn rhythm. I stayed vigil, cataloging every detail for the fight ahead. $3,800 had bought my son scars and my brother handcuffs. The ledger was balanced in a language only courts understood. Colt's denial hung in the sterile air. When his eyes locked on Tucker, a guttural snarl ripped from his throat. He surged forward, cuffs half-ratcheted, shoulder barreling past Vargas' outstretched arm. The sergeant stumbled. Metal links clinked uselessly. Colt's fingers clawed for Tucker's throat, spit flecking his lips. I pivoted, briefcase clattering to the tile, and drove my full weight into his path. My palm struck his sternum. Momentum betrayed him. His boot snagged the wheel of the gurney. He windmilled, skull whipping toward the stainless steel instrument stand bolted beside the bed. The impact sounded like a melon dropped on concrete. Colt crumpled, forehead splitting open in a crimson bloom. Blood sheeted across the floor, mixing with antiseptic puddles. Tucker flinched behind me, breath hitching. Vargas recovered first, knee pinning Colt's back while snapping the second cuff tight. Assault on a minor in custody. He barked into his radio, voice steady despite the chaos. Officer Brooks stood frozen, pen hovering. His gaze darted from Colt's twitching form to the fresh pool spreading beneath the stand. He flipped to a new page, scribbling furiously, erasing his earlier version, line by line. Nurses flooded in, wheeling a crash cart that wasn't needed. One pressed gauze to Colt's temple. Another checked his pupils with a penlight. "Concussion protocol," she muttered. I knelt beside Tucker, shielding him from the sight. His good hand clutched my sleeve, knuckles white. "Mom," he whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. Right before he lunged, he leaned in and said, "I'd pay for telling everyone about the money. That no one would believe a kid anyway." I smoothed the hair from his forehead, careful of the swelling. "Listen to me, baby. He's done talking, done threatening, done hurting you." My words came out steel wrapped in velvet. Security arrived, 2 burly guards in Navy uniforms. They hauled Colt onto a backboard, straps cinching across his chest. His eyes fluttered unfocused, but the hatred lingered. A doctor barked orders. CT scan, sutures, neurological consult. Vargas followed the gurney out, reading Colt his rights for the second time tonight. Brooks approached, notebook closed. "Ma'am, I need your statement for the addendum." The initial report. "It's compromised." His Adam's apple bobbed. "I believed the wrong Vance." I nodded once. "Start with attempted assault in the presence of law enforcement. Add terroristic threats to a child. I'll dictate every word." Tucker tugged my hand. "Will they keep the zip tie off me now?" "Already gone," I said, glancing at the red welts on his wrist. A nurse handed me an ice pack. I pressed it gently to his cheek. The swelling had turned an angry plum. Across the bay, Colt groaned as they wheeled him toward imaging. Blood dotted the linoleum in a dotted trail. Vargas returned, wiping his hands on a paper towel. He's conscious enough to nod. Admitted the push was intentional, claims the kid came at him first. We both know that's garbage. I stood, Tucker's small frame tucked against my side. "Get the body cam footage from the moment he entered this room. Every angle." "Already pulling it," Vargas assured. A social worker appeared. Ms. Harland, badge glinting under the lights. She crouched to Tucker's level. "Hey, champ, we're going to take pictures of your injuries for the file." "Okay. Then you can pick any snack from the vending machine." Tucker managed a shaky nod. I released his hand only long enough for the photographer to work. Flashbulbs popped, capturing every laceration, every bruise. When they finished, Tucker chose chocolate milk. He sipped it through a bent straw, eyes never leaving the corridor where Colt had vanished. Brooks cleared his throat. "The DA will want this fast-tracked. Aggravated assault on a child, prior restraining order violation could add years." "Let them," I said. My voice carried the weight of every case file I'd ever closed. Hours bled into the fluorescent night. Statements were signed, evidence bagged. Tucker fell asleep on the hot chocolate milk carton, clutched like a teddy bear. I sat beside him, reviewing the new report under the dimmed lights. Colt's blood had been mopped up, but the metallic tang lingered. Vargas paused at the curtain. "Transport's here. He is headed to county lockup, hospital wing. Judge will see him tomorrow." I didn't look up. "Tell the judge I'll be there with Tucker." As the sergeant left, Tucker stirred. "Mom, right here. He won't come back." "Right. Not while I'm breathing." Outside the window, the first hint of dawn smeared pink across the parking lot. Another battle loomed, but for now, my son was safe. The stand where Colt's head had split still bore a faint, rust-colored stain. No bleach could fully erase a reminder, etched in steel and blood. Sunlight sliced through the waiting room blinds. My phone vibrated. "Rufus," I answered on the second ring. "Felicity, what the hell happened? Colt's in lockup." His voice cracked with sleep and panic. "Get here, bring Della." I hung up before he could argue. Tucker dozed in recovery, bandages crisp. I paced the corridor. Coffee, long cold. 20 minutes later, my parents burst through the elevator, Rufus in rumpled flannel, clutching her oversized purse like a shield. They spotted me and charged. Rufus first. "They're saying Colt assaulted Tucker. That can't be right." Della nodded vigorously. The boy shouldn't have been listening to adult conversations anyway. I stopped pacing. Adult conversations that ended with my son in surgery. Rufus rubbed his neck. "Colt's got problems, sure. But pushing a kid, he wouldn't." Della chimed in. "Tucker's always been nosy. Maybe he provoked glass in his arm." My volume rose. A nurse glanced over. I lowered it to a hiss. "Sit, both of you." They perched on plastic chairs. Della set her purse on the floor between her orthopedic shoes. The zipper gapped. Something white poked out. I knelt casually, pretending to tie a lace. My fingers brushed paper thick, perforated. I pulled one slip free. Parks Casino $500 straight bet on a Greyhound dated 3 days ago. Another $800 on blackjack. Another $1,200 on roulette. Total tallied in my head, $3,800 exactly. I stood slips fanned like playing cards. "Explain." Della's eyes widened. "Those are private funding for the rage that put Tucker under a scalpel?" I stepped closer. "You bankrolled his gambling, then covered the debt he tried to extort from me. When I refused, he took it out on my child." Rufus reached for the slips. "Della, tell me this isn't." "He needed help." Della cut in, voice trembling. "Family helps. You know how the tracks eat him alive." "Afloat?" I laughed without humor. "He sank my son into broken glass." Della twisted her wedding ring. "Colt promised it was the last time. He was desperate. Desperate men don't get passes to terrorize 11-year-olds. I folded the slips, pocketed them. "These go to the DA, obstruction. Aiding after the fact. Pick your charge." Rufus paled. "You'd turn on your own mother." "I'm turning on enablers." I gestured toward recovery. "Tucker has 32 stitches because you two wrote checks instead of boundaries." Della reached for my arm. I stepped back. "He's still your brother." Was past tense. A doctor emerged. Dr. Singh Scrubs rumpled. "Ms. Vance, Tucker's asking for you." I moved past my parents without another word. Rufus called after me, but the door swung shut. Inside recovery, Tucker blinked awake, groggy. Grandma and Grandpa outside. I smoothed his hair. "They're learning consequences." He studied my face. "You mad at them?" "Disappointed. There's a difference." Della's voice filtered through the wall, pleading with Rufus. "I tuned it out." Tucker yawned. "Can we get pancakes later?" "After discharge. Extra syrup." He smiled faintly, then winced as the IV shifted. I adjusted the line. Security appeared at the nurse's call hospital policy for family disputes. The guard asked my parents to wait in a separate lounge. Rufus protested. Della gathered her purse slips now missing. Her face crumpled when she noticed. I didn't gloat. Just watched them escorted away. Dr. Singh returned with discharge papers. Pain meds follow-up in 5 days. No rough play. Understood. I signed. Tucker sat up slowly. "Uncle Colt's really in jail for now?" "Good." We wheeled him out an hour later. My parents stood by the vending machine, coffee untouched. Della tried eye contact. I looked through her. Rufus opened his mouth, closed it at my expression. In the parking lot, I buckled Tucker into the back seat. He waved at a passing ambulance, fascinated by the lights. As I pulled away, Della ran to the curb. "Felicity." I rolled the window up. The tires crunched over gravel, leaving them in the exhaust. Tucker watched them shrink in the mirror. They looked sad. They made choices. I glanced at him. "We're making new ones." He nodded, settling against the booster. The betting slips rustled in my jacket. Evidence. Leverage. Closure. The city woke around us, oblivious. Tucker hummed a tune from school. I drove toward home, toward whatever came after family fractured. My inbox pinged at 9:17 a.m. ADA Kimberly Trail. Subject line Vance Colt Supplemental Discovery Attachment 47 files. I clicked download while pouring Tucker's cereal. The zip unpacked into folders labeled Audio-Video Forensic Statements. First, a WAV file from Mrs. Elena Gutierrez, next-door neighbor. Her Ring doorbell captured muffled yelling at 12:29 a.m. Colt's voice slurred but unmistakable. 3,800 or else, kid, stay out of it. A thud, then Tucker's cry cut short by shattering glass. Timestamp synced to the push. I forwarded the clip to my paralegal with instructions. Enhance. Transcribe. Notarize. Next folder. Garage security cam. 4K motion triggered. Colt's pickup sat under the floodlight. At 12:27 a.m., he yanked open the passenger door, hurled the broken bottle inside. Shards glinted on the seat. Freeze frame showed the label same brand from the recycling bin. Forensic subreport swab from largest shard yielded Tucker's DNA 100% match blood and epithelial cells. I printed the still, circled the bottle and read. Tucker wandered in, bowl in hand. New evidence, big stuff. I ruffled his hair. Eat up. School bus in 10. He scooped Frosted Flakes, eyes on the screen. That's Uncle Colt's truck. Exactly. The final PDF. A scanned letter on county jail stationery postmarked 2 days ago. Inmate blah, 48,219. Colt's cellmate Marcus Hall, cooperating for time cut. Handwritten Colt wouldn't shut up about the loan, said his sister refused $3,000 for snitching. Used the boy to vent the rage he couldn't aim at her. Exact words. Signature witnessed by a corrections officer. I cross-referenced Hall's rap sheet. Armed robbery reduced for testimony twice before. Credible. ADA Kim called as I closed the file. Felicity, you seeing this every pixel. Grand jury's Monday. These bury him. Motive weapon intent. Plea or trial? Plea. Max exposure. Thought so. I'll draft the offer. 7 years. No parole credit for the headbutt in ER. Add the betting slips from Della's purse. Accessory after. Kim whistled. You're ruthless. Protective. Tucker finished breakfast, rinsed his bowl. Will I have to talk in court? Only if you want the truth louder than lies. He nodded, backpack slung. The bus honked. I walked him out, kissed the scar on his forearm. Faded pink. Now back inside, I built the timeline on a whiteboard. 12:27. Bottle into truck cam. 12:29. Threat plus push audio. 12:31. Fall into glass. Prior cam DNA match. Cellmate confession arrows connected like dominoes. Kim emailed the plea draft by noon. I redlined 2 clauses, sent it back. Afternoon forensics lab confirmed no other DNA on the bottleneck, Colt's prints only. Evening Tucker's homework done. I read Hall's letter aloud, skipping profanities. So he was mad at you, not me. Mad at consequences. You were collateral. He traced the scar. Collateral sounds like war. Sometimes family is. I tucked him in, then returned to the board. Added the neighbor's transcript in bold. Kim texted defense wants discovery meeting tomorrow. Colt's claiming a blackout. I replied, bring popcorn. The house. The courtroom settled into quiet. Outside, the wind rattled the garage camera. Still recording, still watching. Evidence never slept. The bailiff called out, Docket 23, County Route 1, 1187. Spectators crammed every bench. Reporters, advocates, curious locals. I sat front row with Tucker, his hand in mine. Colt shuffled in, an orange jumpsuit swallowing his frame, wrists shackled. His public defender, Ms. Hargrove, whispered last-minute reassurances. Judge Harland, silver hair, is no nonsense, but he gave the order. People versus Colt Vance plea hearing. The ADA, Kim, announced, standing. Your Honor, pursuant to negotiation, the defendant pleads guilty to Count 1, child endangerment, felony 3. Count 2, filing a false police report, misdemeanor. Recommendation, 7 years, Department of Corrections, consecutive, no early release. Ms. Hargrove rose. The defendant accepts. The judge nodded. Allocution. Colt cleared his throat. I pushed the boy. Lied to the cops. I'm sorry. His voice was flat, his eyes glued to the table. Kim projected exhibits. Neighbor audio, waveform of the garage still, DNA report, cellmate letter. Premeditation is clear, Your Honor. Debt pressure escalated to violence. Judge Harland reviewed the documents. Sentence accepted. 7 years. Credit for time served. I requested a victim impact statement. The judge granted it. I stood. Notes unnecessary. Colt Vance endangered my son for refusing a loan. He weaponized family ties. Today, I sever those ties permanently. I sever relations with Rufus Vance, Dela Vance, and Colt Vance forever. No visits, no calls, no reconciliation. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Rufus and Della sat 3 rows back, faces ashen. Della clutched a tissue. Rufus stared at the floor. Kim added, the people joined the request for a permanent no-contact order, including minors. Ms. Hargrove objected weakly. Family healing overruled. Judge Harland snapped. Ms. Vance, approach. I did. The judge spoke softly. Order granted. Civil and criminal bars. Violation is contempt. Jail. She signed with a flourish. Colt's head snapped up. Bailiffs moved in. Shackles rattled as they let him out. He craned for a final look. I met his gaze with ice. The courtroom emptied slowly. Reporters swarmed Kim. Tucker tugged my sleeve. Forever means never. Never. We exited to the hallway. Rufus intercepted us. You can't erase blood. I just did. I guided Tucker past. Della called out. He's still your brother. Was. Security escorted them out a side door. Outside, cameras flashed. I shielded Tucker. No comment. We reached the car. He buckled in. Feels weird. Good. Weird or bad? Good. Like space to breathe. I started the engine. The courthouse shrank in the rearview mirror. Marble steps gleamed under the noon sun. Tucker, 12 today, stood at the podium, the microphone adjusted to his height. Reporters ringed the bottom stair. Child advocates filled the risers. He wore the navy blazer I'd bought for middle school graduation. Tie straight. Panel on Youth Violence Prevention. The moderator announced. Victim speaker Tucker Vance. He gripped the edges of the podium, knuckles pale. A year ago, my uncle pushed me into glass over money he wanted from my mom. I was 11. The cuts needed surgery. He lied to police. Said I attacked him. Murmurs rose. Cameras clicked. I'm here because kids shouldn't pay for adult mistakes. Debt doesn't justify threats. Family does. Real family protects. Applause rippled through the crowd. He stepped down. I hugged him tight. Proud doesn't cover it. The panel chair, a state senator, approached. Powerful words. We're funding new hotlines because of testimonies like yours. Tucker nodded shyly. Back at the office, Coastal Kids Legal Aid. My nonprofit launched 6 months prior, staff awaited with cake. Frosting read, Happy 12th, plus 1 year stronger. Balloons bobbed against the ceiling. I'd founded it in a converted storefront, offering pro bono restraining orders, emergency custody, and therapy referrals. First case, a 10-year-old fleeing a gambling dad. Echoes, but not ours. Tucker cut the cake. Chocolate with vanilla. Perfect. Interns cheered. One handed him a card signed by 20 clients. You gave us courage. My phone buzzed. Adia Kim. Quick update. Colt's paralyzed. Prison yard fight over unpaid poker debt. Inmate shanked him. Severed spinal cord. Wheelchair for life. I excused myself to the hallway. Karma. Consequences. Visit. None. No contact holds. I returned to the party. Tucker licked frosting. Everything okay? Better than okay. Evening. We walked the beach boardwalk. Waves crashed below. He skipped stones. Founded the center because of me, because of us, and every kid who needs one. He pocketed a smooth pebble. Lesson stuck. Debt doesn't justify threats. Family does. I repeated his line. He grinned. Sounds official. Home. He did homework while I reviewed grants. Coastal Kids had served 43 families, secured 12 permanent guardianships. Bedtime. Mom, can I speak at schools next? Already booked. He fist pumped, then yawned. I tucked him in. The nonprofit's first annual report printed a cover photo. Tucker on those steps, captioning his words. Midnight. Email from corrections. Colts medical transfer approved, state facility indefinite. I closed the laptop.